Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you again for Have a Chat. I'm your host for today's show, joined by my dazzling co-host. I love her so much, Veronique Arsenault. Welcome. Hello, Veronique.
Hi, Judy. I'm always so glad to be here with you. And you know what? It's such an exciting show coming up for us today. So it's easy to be excited.
It is so. But as always, we start off our show with a quote, and I would love to hear what you have brought to us today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find, for this one, I really I wanted something that would be uplifting and
Okay.
sometimes we forget that we are enough. So this is where that came
hmm
from. So it's actually from the Happy Project is what it's called. And it says, "You're enough. You are so much more than enough. You are strong. You are unique. You are needed. You bring to this world things that no one else can. You are perfect exactly as you are. You deserve the best. You are worthy of love. You are beautiful inside and out. You have always been and will always be enough."
That's incredible. That's the third time someone's told me that today.
Really?
Yeah, right. No, I'm joking. That just gave me a lift, hearing that. It was just inspiring and made me feel that yes, I do believe I'm enough. There are days that we don't feel adequate, that we all have our obvious imperfections. And my theme for J Connection this week, my online forum, is bad habits. I do think that if you don't own up to having a few, then you're lying, because we all do. And as adults, we're trying to set that, raise that bar for the children, that yes, you don't have to follow us in the way, if it's bad mouthing somebody, if people are out there doing that, the kids are going to pick it up. If you're swearing at home and cursing and you're whatever, drinking too much coffee, we all have our habits. And I'm not saying those are mine, but people have their vices. And so just to know that as human beings, we're enough, though, on a day to day level, is
Mhm.
that's what we need to hear, that we are absolutely worthy people as human beings. Each one of us is unique. I love it.
Yeah, and I think, some days we forget, right? Because we're so caught up in, I haven't reached this milestone yet, or I haven't,
Mm,
I don't have the job I
mhm.
want, or I don't have the my kids are,
Yeah,
doing this, or my I don't have kids, or whatever it may be. And
yes,
I think
yes.
sometimes we think, well, we're never gonna we're never gonna be enough, and so why bother? But I think,
Yeah,
for me, it was just a great way to express that, we the world needs all of us, right, in our own unique ways.
that's that is right. It should be a mantra that we say or have posted on our fridge and look at daily. I really strongly do believe that. I
Mhm.
had my glasses on earlier and my eyes are a little bit bloodshot because, again, I'm up in the wee hours reading. And this time I am reading what I think is quite interesting. It is The House of Gucci. Now,
Ooh.
I really love it, but you have to be in the mood to really, be focused, because you're going from it's a story that takes you back from, the humble beginning of Gucci, and the
Mhm.
Gucci family, and how it has become this empire, this dynasty. But it also involves the murder, of course, of the famous Maurizio. And so I've been reading and learning about how businesses run, and the dynamics of, and the terrible interpersonal relationships that go on in these families of money. And so much so that you're learning all about affairs, the scandal, the greed, the names in itself. I think at the end of the day, I'm almost Italian. It's like Patrizia and Mauricio and Gucci. It's just ooh la la,
Mhm.
money, money. But it's
Mhm.
really, really good. And it's based on the motion picture, which will be featuring Lady Gaga. I find her
Mhm.
fabulous. It just
Mhm.
says that the gripping book about the empire murder of Maurizio Gucci reveals the ugly truth behind fashion's most fabulous family. And I'm going to leave it at that. I would read it when you're in the mood to read something that is educational along with suspenseful. It's not just a fluffy little story. It's really, really diving into the background of these people. So get it. It's good. It's murder, madness, glamour, and greed all in one. Yeah.
Amazing. Wow, I can't wait.
Veronique, yeah. Veronique, speaking of drama, and
Oh.
craziness. Have you been watching the
Mm.
defamation trial of Johnny Heard? Johnny Heard, yeah, basically. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
You know what? Yes. Yes, I should say that. I find it really fascinating actually, and because I've been kind of following along for about I think it's been almost a year that they're finally at the trial part, but I think it started, about a year ago with their separation and things like that. And I'm finding it really fascinating because it's brought to
Mm-hmm.
light people's prejudices when it comes to believing or not believing, men can be victims of domestic violence, right? And we all assume that men are stronger, they're bigger, they're just a woman would never do that kind of thing. And listen, the trial's not over, but I mean, absolutely, it would appear that Johnny Depp was a victim of domestic violence repeatedly.
Mm-hmm. I know, and I have been watching it, and it's not that I ever do want to get caught up in that celebrity stuff because there are so many more pressing things in the world to worry about, such as the horrendous war. I mean, I can only take so much of that. It's heartbreaking to the point where I was in tears last night looking at what's happening over there and these lives just being wiped out. It's just so much. So, sometimes I'll go online, I'll look at the trial between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. And again, I'm emotional because it's extremely hard to watch people putting their human beings, as we just said, putting their lives
Mhm.
out there to the whole world and having people judge and shame and blame. But there's a truth, right? What Johnny Depp said is he wants to bring the truth out, and I don't think that man would set himself up with clips being played of their interactions and the physical stuff that went on if he didn't really believe that he could defend himself. And let's just face it, they're both into substance abuse. I have never been addicted to anything, so my heart goes out to anyone with an addiction problem, and I do believe they both do need help. Johnny Depp is an incredible actor. He had a very abusive childhood, and he is definitely dealing with substance abuse issues for which I do hope and believe he's probably going to get help. Now, when you're in a relationship with a person like Amber Heard, it doesn't mean she's presenting kind of like a monster in this whole trial, and it's just unbelievable the things that she's bringing forth. But I think she provoked him in a state of being intoxicated, So the two of them, they have a poisonous relationship as a couple, and that's a problem. He had a relationship with Vanessa Paradis for 16 years and fathered two of her children. She said, we never had that kind of an
Mhm.
arguing, physical, mental torturous relationship. It was good. And the thing that I find really interesting is that no one else is coming out to bash Johnny Heard. There might be a lawsuit against him with someone he was involved with business wise, but as far as people that he's close to, worked with, been on set with, close friends, security guards, assistants, they know, yes, he's got substance abuse problems that were brought out. And this kind of ugly man came out when she kept pushing at him, pushing at him, pushing at him, but they're not saying anything bad about him. Really and truly, that's to me in itself something big that they're not saying, oh, yeah, he's abusive. Like, oh my gosh, punching everybody in the head and telling us off. I'm not seeing that. But I think she needs
Mhm.
help. I really, really do. I mean, she's a beautiful, stunning girl. I think she needs some mental therapy. That's my personal opinion. And it's not a
Yeah,
pretty
it's
thing at all.
no, and I mean it's obvious that they did not have a healthy relationship, let's say,
No?
and dynamic between them. I find it interesting though because the reaction to Johnny Depp has been so different than the reaction to
Mm.
Amber Heard, and it took a long time for women to be believed, right? When they talked
Yes,
about
yes.
domestic violence, and we're still not
Yeah.
there where it's where it
Oh.
should be. But her first allegations towards him came out, just around that Me Too movement, and I
Mm.
remember him being removed from a movie that he was fired like immediately from a movie that
Okay.
he
I
was
know.
starring in at the time, and but then when he made the allegations towards her, the reaction was very different, and
Mm.
there were no punishments for her. So I find
Mm.
I'm
No.
finding this fascinating on so many fronts because, you know, uh, like there's so much inequity in the world as it is, and so but we're just seeing it in reverse now. So I find it's
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by it all. I'm very sad for them and the relationship that
Yes.
they had and what it's done to the two of them and that it's now
Mhm,
playing out
mhm.
so publicly for everybody to be a
Oh,
part of. But I am also fascinated by how the world is reacting to this and
yep, yep.
but to the awareness that it's bringing.
Totally, and about the truth. There's a truth to everything, right? I have my story. If you're in dispute with me, you have your story, and then there's a truth right
Hmm.
there, right? But
Absolutely.
let's just see how this plays out. To me, it's not about the money, which is an incredible amount of money, $100 million or whatever all. It's about accountability, and that you can't just shoot your mouth off about somebody saying they did something to you and not be expected to be taken to task for it. He just said, my kids have to go to school and look at the front page of People magazine with her showing a black eye. That I did this to her. He said, which I did not do this. He said, it's criminal charges, basically, and it ruined my career. So it's about accountability and saying things about somebody
Hmm.
that you do not maybe have the truth on, and people are believing what you're telling them. I believe in hearing all sides, and that's why I'm fascinated by it. And I really, my heart goes out to him. He was stuttering and stammering for the first while. Now he and she both are looking much more composed. They're looking more ready, and it's getting uglier. But I think he's cleaning his act up, and he's feeling the support and love. We shall see where it goes.
Absolutely.
And speaking of all of that, we've lost Guy Lafleur, who was an amazing, iconic figure in the sports world, beloved, played for the Montreal Canadiens for so long, and legendary number 10, the Rocket, Guy Lafleur. I was saddened because his death just came on the heels of losing Mike Bossy, and they both died of lung cancer. Mike Bossy being 65 and Guy Lafleur being 70. So as I get older, into my 61 year coming up, it seems so young, and they left such an impact on the world
Yeah.
as people as well, not just human, not just figures on the arena, but as beautiful people.
Yeah, and you're right. It's so sad, and I think especially those for those of us who are Gen X or or a little bit older. It takes us back to our youth, and I was such a Habs fan when
Yes.
Guy Lafleur played for them, and so it's a little piece of your young days gone again, and
Oh, I know.
everyone that had the opportunity to meet him, and a lot of people did here actually in Miramichi have said the same thing. What a wonderful human being, what a genuine and
That's
warm
right.
and friendly human being he was, and what an honor it was to meet him. So it's sad to know that
Mm,
that light is gone from this world, but he has left an
yeah.
incredible legacy. Absolutely.
He has, and the game the other night in Montreal, it was 10 minutes full and 10 seconds of gee 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 gee. He wouldn't even let they wouldn't even let the commentator speak because they were chanting his name and relentlessly, supporting and showing their love for him. And he was a wonderful role model for youth. I think that's one thing that is above all for me as far as his starship. He was amazing on ice, but he just wanted kids to know that you have to believe in yourself, work hard, go for it, be passionate, and things can happen. So yeah, we're losing these people, like you said, Veronique. It's a little piece of us going with them every time they leave this beautiful earth. So yes, and speaking of leaving, there's been a lot of people now jumping on board to travel because they have that bug. They've been locked up and at home, and now that they're allowed to fly with less restrictions, they're on their way with a few little glitches that have come recently. Sunwing, they had that terrible computer glitch where people were stranded. Were you following that?
Yeah, it was there was thousands of people, like hundreds of flights and thousands of people stranded. So just absolutely incredible. And especially at a time when everybody is trying to get somewhere, right? Because we've been safe at home for 2.5 years now, and or a little
Mhm.
over 2 years, I guess. I keep saying half, but it's not. A little over 2 years now. And so it's really people are just they want to get on a plane and go.
Yeah, and I will too. I'm just still a little bit hesitant, only for the reason that I don't want to pack up and go, say, abroad. I would love to go to London right now, or Rome, or Spain, but I'm just afraid of getting COVID on the way and being stuck there in a hotel, and maybe not even feeling bad, but bad enough not to be able to explore and enjoy my time. So I'm just kind of debating here and there. But we have some incredible guests coming up for the show, Veronique. They're both in
I
the line
can't
of
wait.
entertainment. I know they're pumped individuals. They give us that lift for the day, and I'm sure our viewers are going to be inspired by them as well. We are going to be live next week, which is incredible. And I'm sure you'll be as happy as we are to go back into the studio where we're live with Roger's crew next week. What do you think, Vero? It's time.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. It's been a long time coming. We've been safe at home, as we said right from the beginning, for 2 years now. So to be going back into the studio starting next week and have live guests and being able to interact with people again with all of the COVID precautions in place at Rogers.
Yeah,
You know what?
right.
I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to being with you as well.
Me too. So, folks, don't go far. As I said, we have two fabulous guests coming up to join Veronique and I. And don't go away. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to Have a Chat. If you're just joining us, I'm your host for today's show, Judy Loge, joined by my beautiful co-host, Veronique Arsenault. Thank you for tuning back in. We are so proud to welcome our first-time guest and first guest of the show, Mr. Frank Westcott. He is coming to us virtually all the way from Alliston, Ontario, which is just on the outskirts of Toronto by about an hour. And I'm thrilled because I met Frank years ago in a lineup in Las Vegas, catching our baggage after a flight. And we were both there. I was with my husband. Frank was there doing his thing, and we were on vacation. And we just hit it off in the area that we were waiting. And then again, on our return trip, we met up again and struck up this conversation. And we've been literally pals online for many, many years. And it's thrilling for me to have him actually on screen. So, welcome, Frank.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Vegas does wonders for everybody.
It does. It does. It keeps people connected. And here we are.
Yes.
And first of all, you have so much to talk about on this show in the way of sharing your talents and so much. But first of all, tell us a little bit and the viewers about yourself personally.
Yeah, basically, I'm a dad and father. I'm a retired educator, teacher person. I enjoy traveling to a degree. I'm a writer, a musician, and I have a pet goldfish.
Oh,
That's
I
awesome.
just
cool.
thought I'd throw that in.
Yes,
That's
because it's
awesome. I
still a
love it.
pet. Yes.
You know what? I am totally not surprised that, Judy made a friend in the lineup for the baggage because, she never wastes an opportunity to connect with people. So really not surprised that that's how the two of you met. I love this story. But Frank, you are so multi-talented. You are a musician, you are a writer, you are a performer. But talk to us a little bit about how you got started. How old were you when you took an interest in music? And I'm sure you play more than one instrument. So talk to us a little bit about that too.
Sure. As far I can remember, back I was in school, maybe three, a toddler, banging on an uncle's piano, much to the chagrin of anyone else there. So had a draw towards it, certainly before much was happening in my life. Today, I'm a drummer over my career. I play the piano, I play a guitar. I also fiddle on the ukulele a little bit. I'm 72 years old, so I've had a lot of time to do these things, however many
Mhm.
it seems.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
and what really got a few things going, which is kind of interesting in terms of the music. I was a drummer for 22 years. I never intended to write songs or any of that stuff. And I have a specialist qualification for special education for handicapped and whatnot for Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
I started my
Mm-hmm.
career there for the first 5 years working with mentally challenged kids. I I wrote a school song, just it came out of my fingers and brain, And then in the late 80s, I had a grade 4 class. I was teaching regular by then. And I wrote another song around the onion tree that they kind of liked. It just kind of fell out of the sky. That was it until the mid 90s. And I was working with just young children again in special ed. And I began writing some kids songs. Today there's over 200, but not all kids, probably 70, 75 children's songs, and the balance for people like us, grown up,
Yes.
Awesome.
And he has a beautiful voice, Veronique, and we're gonna get that out to the viewers as to how you can connect and go on his website at the end of his segment. But Frank, I know that and I've received some of your work. You're an incredible writer, just amazing musician and writer. So getting to the writing part, what age were you when you took an interest and a passion in that? And just walk us through a bit of the journey of your writing
Sure.
and how it evolved.
Um, yeah, probably for most creatives, what the creative propensity or propensities are. I knew in grade 4 for sure that was something I wanted to do. So that's 8, 9 years old. I remember scribbling with a pen and paper or pencil and paper before I knew what words were really in terms of and alphabet. So it was probably preschool, but that's just a foggy memory. I've always written, it seems. And then in the mid 70s, I started writing professionally, articles, a local column. I had a raft of poetry, etc. From 79 to 89, I had 8 books come out, some poetry, blah, blah, blah. One book on the beaver, 1989, which was the most comprehensive book at the time on the creature. 2.5 years worth of research and all that stuff, anything in English I saw ever that was ever written or on that particular creature. And then I was tired by then, and through the 90s I withdrew from the publishing arena, did a lot of music, but I published 5 short stories, just giveaways myself, continued writing some heavy duty stuff, which I've been working on the last couple of years, again, getting it ready for publication that I wrote back then. Anyway, as a quick aside, one of the short stories that I wrote in 2008 won the Carter Vanderbilt Cooper Short Story Fiction Award in 2011. And that was a thrill. And meeting Gloria every year thereafter till she became ill was just wonderful. She was a great gal. And the award was created in honor of her son, Carter, who at 23 passed away. And he loved the writing world and the publishing world. So she created this award in honor of him. She had some connections to Canada. I can't recall what they were or are. Her son, Anderson Cooper, the journalist, broadcaster, wrote a book about a lot of that stuff that came out 2 years ago. Oh, and this was really cool. Sorry, but there's just so much stuff. In 2014, I had a 2,000 words, like that's as long as a short story, a 2,000 word poem, but I made it like a poem. And it was a finalist for the Gwendolyn McEwen Poetry Prize, which is a Canadian award. And there was only like about 14 in the final when you got down to the finalists. So I'm really proud of that. And that went on to be published in 2016 in Exile, the Literary Quarterly, ELQ, which Joyce Carol Oates called one of the great North American literary magazines. So that was huge, all of that. And just a quickie, 217, Bruce Meyer did an anthology called CLI-FI, Canadian Tales of Climate Change. And I had a short thing. I wound up writing a play-ish format thing on climate change called The Heat Was Unbearable. Anyway, I'll shush now unless you want me to tell you what I've been doing during the pandemic that's writing related.
We're gonna get to that though. We're gonna get to that.
Okay.
Love that.
You had another question, Vero?
Yeah, well, absolutely. But it actually will relate back to the pandemic and how you've kind of navigated. But when you sit down to write, where do you find is that best place, and has that changed because of the pandemic, or has your process changed because of the pandemic?
Good question. Huge. The process, sorry, the location and timing and setting it up depended on the stage of my life. You know, if I was teaching school, I had to really schedule it in and stuff. But anyway, leaping way back or way forward to now, I retired 20 years ago, so my clock became my own. During the pandemic, I was blessed with the art forms where you pretty much work alone in the writing, you do it by yourself. So I was very used to spending hours in my little room. And in the creation, not the performance of music, but in the creation of music, again, that's a solo activity. So the blessing was that I was comfortable in that zone and dealt with the other outside issues like we all have as best I could. What that led me to do, though, because I had more time than I normally would want to devote to that kind of activity, I began working on a lot of stuff that had kind of been just waiting for me to have time or the age that I could get to it because I wasn't doing other things. Um,
Mhm.
a long novel I've been working on, hugely long, a shorter novella. Um, I just came out Friday. This magazine or
Oh.
anthology, Mother the Verb, Swan Sister Treasure Book. Linda Rogers, novelist, poet, former uh, ding ding
Mhm.
president of the Canadian League of Poets. She'd be happy to come on your show, I'm sure, anytime. She's in British Columbia. Um,
Okay.
my piece in there is on finding. It's called Finding the Magic, and that's about my process. So getting back to that, um, the pandemic enhanced the writing activities for me because there wasn't a lot else to detract from it. I can basically write
Mhm.
anywhere. I can write in a busy cafeteria. Music wise, the
Mm.
same thing. I've been working on some duets, creating some of my songs into duets. Um, 11 new kids' songs I've written and working on. Um, pretty much that kind. I did a lot of article writing for Right Away magazine in the UK on music, and
Mhm.
that's pretty much it. Oh, an aside though, but from since the mid 90s to now, I've written over 5,000 poems. And it's also
Mhm.
enabled me to have that time in front of the TV to begin getting them into a file that might be workable. Oh, and I collected all of, I mean, I do so much, but it's sort of what I am. It's like breathing.
Yep.
Like I don't
Yep.
really think about I'm doing a lot because it's what I am.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I collected all my stories, about 70 stories written over my lifetime, some for children, but the bulk
Mhm.
for people at grown-ups,
Yep.
into a volume. So who knows what'll happen with that.
Beautiful
Okay.
stuff. Beautiful stuff, Frank. I just wanted to ask you, it was crossing my mind as you were speaking, growing up and maybe to date, who are some of those people that inspired you in the way of music and writing?
Okay, music, top gun would be Sammy Davis Jr., because he was so versatile and did
Mhm.
basically all genres of music during his career, which I do. And his just joy of life when he wasn't dealing with major issues. And he had a lot of those. And I respect that he actually got
Mhm.
through those. So that all of that inspired me no end. He was a drummer
Yeah.
too, among other things. And he would go on stage and he would just do a little bit of everything. And you'd leave that
Mhm.
in awe and
Yeah.
inspired. So he was
Yeah.
the top
Totally.
gun there. Straight music, John Lennon, George Harrison, Ray Charles. Ray Charles,
Mhm.
because he would take an existing song and make it his own. He would do something really fantastic with it, but he wasn't
Mhm.
sticking to the original. I kind of am
Yeah.
that way as well. I I find my own way. Literary wise, I
Mhm.
know he gets a lot of criticism, and back then and did today, but people cried when he died, and that was Ernest Hemingway. I read his bio when I
Oh,
was
yeah.
about 17, and
Mhm.
just the fact that someone could do that to that level, he kind of helped me along because I read everything about him or
Mhm.
anything that he ever wrote, He had a unique style,
Mm,
and he took a lot of. Doesn't matter what you do, you're going to get flack. So he got his flack. People will go digging for that.
right.
Um, Otherwise,
Hmm.
Morley Callahan, I've talked about before when I did a Vegas interview in January. Morley Callahan, teacher read a story. Now this is for others. Teacher read a story when I was in grade 4, and I was in awe of how someone could write so beautifully and so powerfully. As I grew up, I became friends with his son, Barry Callahan, who is also a man of letters and actually managed through his various publishing ventures and channels the award for Gloria Vanderbilt. But I
Mm, mm,
first connected with Barry back in the 70s. Um, so it's a my life has been sort of unanticipated things
mhm,
happening. I know Sammy
mhm.
Davis Jr.'s son today, like just weird stuff,
Oh,
weird,
yeah.
weird.
But
So go ahead.
no, just beautiful connections all the way around. And I certainly can see why you looked up and were, inspired by those two individuals in particular. And you've done so much. I think, they were great teachers for so many, but you, like I said, you did it your way. And your way is great, Frank. Veronique, like I said, I've listened to his music, been inspired by Frank and read his work, listened to his silky, amazing voice. And so, what would you like to add? What would you like to ask Frank? Because I know a bit more about him than you
Well,
do.
yeah, no, absolutely. And we only have 2 minutes left in the segment. So I would just love to know how we and the viewers can better connect with your music and learn more about you.
Of course. Anytime they can go to my website, Frank Westcott, one T in the middle and two on the end, frankwestcottpoet.com. And if you Google me, that'll come up. My YouTube, there's some music there. That's something else I did in the pandemic, learn how to create these video things. So if you go to
Mhm.
Frank, aka Frank Westcott, aka Grandpa Frank, you'll discover some
Right.
nice, fun stuff there. My Facebook is
Yeah.
Frank Westcott. There's several there, but the
Mhm.
picture you get looks a bit like me. Uh,
Yeah.
that's about it.
Thank you so much, Frank, for joining us. It's been wonderful. Don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to be right back with our other guests just momentarily. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our show. We are joined now by the one and only Jason Cyrus. We are so happy, Veronique and I, to welcome him to our show. He's been on once before, but people can't get enough of Jason. He's dynamic, and he wears a lot of hats, actually. He is a professional hypnotist, which in itself is remarkable. He's a naturopath. He is a public speaker, and he's a neuro change practitioner. And welcome to our show, Jason, and tell the viewers a little bit more about you personally.
Wow, thank you so much. And first of all, you guys look absolutely amazing. I'm telling you, this is
Woo!
I
this
think
is
we're gonna have
wonderful.
to pay Jason after this show.
Oh, yeah. Get
I
my
speak the
glasses off
truth. I
here.
speak the truth.
Aw,
No, but
thanks.
yeah, I come from. I'll make a long story short. I know this could take up our whole segment just to tell you a little bit of background. But I come from the metropolis of Minto, New Brunswick, a coal mining community. And yeah, I come from a entertainment background. My dad was the name of Joey Knight. I don't know. I'm guessing that some of your viewers might know that. Do you know that name,
Yeah.
Judy? I
My
think we talked about
my
this
parents,
before.
yeah, my parents definitely have, and friends of mine that have watched you before connected with that name, so for sure.
Yeah, so he was a country music entertainer. He was up, at the Canadian Country Music Awards up against Blue Rodeo back in the day. So entertainment was in my blood. And I came from a drama background. So I absolutely loved acting in schools and things like that. And I did it throughout high school. And I did fairly well at hockey. So I ended up playing hockey in Ontario and did well there, and come back to Moncton, New Brunswick. I'm really making this long story short. And I ended up going to college in NBCC. I took my
Yep.
marketing degree there. Started to
Mhm.
study a little bit about hypnosis. When I got into the fitness industry and things like that, and started to learn around 25 years old. Got into the hypnotherapy part of things and developed a show, and then got stepped on stage for the first time in 2007 to do my show. It was October 19th at Sussex, New Brunswick, at Sussex Regional High School, and then the rest is history from there.
Wow, wow,
Amazing.
wow. Packed, jam
Yep.
packed.
Absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. And the work you do every day is so critical. And I think so many people don't realize actually what you do on the day to day, right? I mean, you're a very flashy hypnotist. It's fantastic. I love your shows. But people don't realize, you wear so many hats, so they really don't know what you do on the daily to improve people's lives. I do. I've actually been a client of yours for about a year now, and you have made a phenomenal difference in my life. But talk to us a little bit about what you do for people every day.
I really appreciate that. And before I get into it, I'm going to tell you that I was doing 40 to 50 events a year, which was a lot before the pandemic. And then everything completely stopped. All the events, everything shut down. And I went through like 2 days of literally grabbing my head saying, what am I going to do? Because that was my income. It was everything. So I took 2 days. I got myself straight, and I said, okay, I got it. And I always did hypnotherapy. I did hypnotherapy since I was 25 years old, but I never promoted it. Everybody always knew me as the performer. And I did so many shows that I didn't really focus on it full time or anything like that. But 2 days after that pandemic, I said, I've got to immerse myself even more into this. And I ended up getting my naturopath degree through the Academy of Professional Naturopath and Naturotherapists. They're based out of Quebec. And it was a 3-year course. And I'm telling you, I don't want anybody to ever do this, but I was started at 6 a.m. and I didn't go to bed till like midnight. And I just completely immersed myself into the study. And I ended up doing the 3-year course in 13 months, which was pretty crazy. And I wasn't an academic. I wasn't an academic by no means in school or anything like that. But I changed my mindset, and I developed a growth mindset. And we can talk a lot about more. And I know that you guys, when I'm talking to you, I see growth mindset in the both of you, definitely. But I developed a very, very strong growth mindset, and it changed my life. And I started to work doing my hypnotherapy. And the silver lining of all of this is I would have never in a million years have immersed myself into the hypnotherapy part if it wasn't for COVID, if that didn't happen. And I get to meet absolutely incredible people every single day. I work with 10 to 15 clients. I work out of a clinic in Moncton, New Brunswick, a 360 Health Center. There's 14 other practitioners here. And I'm just so blessed. And I always say that there's no standing ovation that can ever make you feel the way when you get that email and says, my anxiety gone, or I'm dealing, my traumas. I don't have that trauma. I don't got that weight on my shoulders. I don't got that knot in my stomach or that pain in my chest. I'm telling you, there's no standing ovation that can make you feel that way when you know that you use your gifts and qualities to help another person.
That's right.
Absolutely.
You're changing lives every single day, Jason. And I've watched your videos and the passion that people are sharing as to how you've made their lives change just dramatically. So in so many ways. And I will get to that at the end of the show. You can connect us to your website and how people can actually view you. But we have exciting news because you are starting right away on your tour after a hiatus, your hypnosis show, taking it across the province called Rewired. We want to know all the details about it.
Wow, I can't wait. It's we're starting our very first show starts April 30th in Moncton, New Brunswick. The show's been sold out for the past month, and it's like 800 people are starting it. And I was like, when we first started doing the shows again, I was like, gee, maybe people are forgetting about me, and all that stuff. And you get those fears, but it just it's so nice to be back on the stage, and you guys know, the feeling of being on stage and working with the audience, and just having so much fun. But we really developed a strong show with Rewired. I always pride myself on, my shows are always family friendly. It's really, really, really important to me, because I always want to be an ambassador of giving a hypnosis the good name. And I always tell people, when they come to my show, you have to buy the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Yep.
Love it.
It's going to be
I love
electric. It's going to be electric. There's over like 40 music tracks to the show. A lot of people are saying, you got the new show Rewired and you changing all your routines. It's just like Billy Joel. If you don't play the piano, man, I got certain routines that people
Yeah.
want to see all the time.
Yes.
But I do have a lot of new things, and it's fun and silly sometimes as the show can be. There's going to be a part of the show that's actually kind of a little more serious, and it's something that I'm getting into, and I'm testing it out to see how it's going to work, and I'm doing it, and it's going to be very, very interesting for the audience. So it's going to be super fun, and we're going to have a blast.
And you are coming to Miramichi. For the viewers that are living in Miramichi, the show is Friday, May 13th, and I cannot wait. We've been so held back by the virus, and everyone's just bursting to get out. I mean, the pandemic might never end. You have to start living again. So I'm ready to live again. And I want to thank you for giving a portion of your show to our foundation, Dr. Gerard and Judy Loge Foundation. Jason, that's amazing. Not expected, but you're a giver and you give back to the community. So it's at the Civic Center. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that venue?
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm going to tell you, where I first actually met you was on here, with Vero, and I just thought you guys were just so amazing, and I seen your energy and just loved your personality so much, and I'm like, geez, what can I do to do something really good? And then I thought of you, and then I did a little research, on you and Gerard, and just seen so much love, joy, and happiness that you bring to the community. And I want everybody to come together. I want to get as many people as possible in that Civic Center, so that we can just have an absolutely unforgettable night of just laughs, where people can just leave their troubles at the door, just sit down, come in, bring the whole family, and just be completely entertained. And that's my goal and it's on Friday the 13th too, right? Hypnotist Friday 13th.
I know. And
that's great.
Tickets are online. The tickets are online for your show, which is in Miramichi. It's already almost gone, but there are tickets, the Moncton show. But for locally in our area, Miramichi, tickets are at both Jean Coutu, Chatham, and Newcastle, and on Eventbrite. And reasonable price at $30, Jason, for a night of entertainment. I mean, people are really raring to go now, right, Veronique?
You know what? Absolutely. And everybody I know is going that night. They're so excited to get out, but also to support, Gerard and Judy, right? Because you're so right, Jason. Gerard and Judy have done so much for the community and continue to do so much for the community. So, a lot of people that I've talked to are absolutely tired of being home, but they also want to be able to give a little bit back to Gerard and Judy for everything that they've done. So they're pretty excited that it's a win-win. They get to be entertained and do some good.
So nice.
So important. And
so nice.
That's what it's all about, and I had such great shows, in Miramichi. And every time that we've been there over the past 2 years, we used to go to the Vogue Theater, that I missed so much. And Victor and everybody was just absolutely unbelievable people to work with. And I couldn't wait to get back and see all the good people. And when I connected with you guys, I said, this is how we got to do it. And let's pack that Civic Center. Let's have a great night.
Yeah.
Before Vera goes to her question, I just want to surround myself with people like you and Veronique. Those are my people. those are the people I want to bring into my life every single day. Energy, positivity, and vision. And that's what I aim for. And if there's negativity, I try to remove myself. But Jason and Veronique, I just want to thank you both for bringing that to me.
Wow. Yeah.
Truly.
Well, you
We
know,
love you.
I think, yeah, we do love you, and I want to be around people like you and Veronique. So I mean, we're all in. This is a
Yep.
win-win here, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Listen, I just can't wait to get out of the house. Okay. I'm just like, that's all I'm so excited to get out of the house. The girls are all coming. The whole family's
Yep.
coming. I think we've got about 15 of us at this point.
Nice.
So we're excited. But
Wow. Wow.
Jason, we've talked so much about the pandemic, and when I first started coming to you as a client, it was actually a few weeks before the pandemic was declared. So there was some time in there where we were all we were locked down, no question, dealing with a whole lot of stuff, but people are struggling. They've been struggling with their mental health challenges. They're struggling with financial issues, marital issues, confidence, fears, all of that kind of stuff. But what do you want to say to them, Jason? How do we help them in general?
Well, I can tell you, I just when with my neuro change program that I just took, I can tell you this, that even back in the 80s, when scientists were studying the brain, they said that the brain that we were born with was the brain that we would die with. And this is absolutely simply untrue. Our brain is plastic, and we can evolve and we can change, and I don't want to get into too much science of all this stuff, but it's something called neuroplasticity. And if we can develop a strong growth mindset, and it's all about learning and growing and falling and getting back up and falling and getting back up. And a lot of times there's a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And a fixed mindset, if someone did something and they failed at it, then they would just stop, or they say, oh, I'm not talented enough, or I'm not pretty enough, or anything like that. But if you can just make that switch, and it's to enjoy the process, not that long-term goal. Because sometimes that long-term goal is just like, how am I ever going to get there? And it just becomes, it's so tiring and so stressful. But if we can just separate those little wins, we start to open up these new neural pathways into our brain, and they start to lighten up. And there's something called synapses and myelination, and all this stuff starts firing off. So those old pathways of, sadness and anxiety and depression and things like that, the light starts to turn off in the brain. This is science. And the roots start to grow in, and those weeds start to grow in, and you don't start to travel on that path anymore. And then once you start that incredible path, you just keep going on that, and that other one just blackens out. So it's not a part of your life anymore. So to answer your question, the key is to start with little wins. And sometimes I work a lot with trauma and anxiety, and some people say, I just can't get out of the bed, and I don't want to even wake up in the morning. And my advice to them is just give yourself at least 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes. And if 5 minutes is all that you did, go back to the bed, go back to the bed, but at least start with those little goals and celebrate that little goal, celebrate that win. And then you'll get 10 minutes, then you'll get 20 minutes. And I always talk about something called seeds, and it's so important. And seeds stands for sleep, education, exercise, diet, and low stress. And if we can add that into our daily life, our life will start to change. And there is a light at the tunnel, And
Good.
my big thing is just take the little steps, the baby steps, and celebrate those steps.
Right. So encouraging, so needed. People, they're in need to hear this, that are struggling on a daily basis. And that is what we need to know. That little baby steps is the way to do it. Jason, Veronique and I, we have no inhibitions at all when it comes to standing in front of large crowds and emceeing in front of thousands of people. And we're one of the rare three, because at the top of that, at the top of list of phobias, I should say, is the fear of public speaking. So can you just agree with me, and Veronique too, I would think, on the fact that they say, I could never, ever do that. I would never be able to. That's not true, is it? You can really people can work with you, for example, to learn how to gain, like you said, little by little, their confidence in the public eye to speak, right? It's not impossible.
Most definitely. No, not at all. And
Hmm.
I'll tell you that what you just said was a fixed mindset. They got to switch their mindset over to the growth mindset, and that's how it starts. But
That's right.
you're 100% right. Actually, public speaking is more of a fear than jumping out of a plane.
I know.
That's how much of a fear public speaking is.
I
And I
know.
remember when I first started in drama and things like that. And I still get the imposter monster. Have you guys heard of the imposter
Mm.
monster? Yeah.
Yes, we have. Yep.
Yeah, that imposter monster's still
Yeah.
there, and I've done thousands of shows. And all of a sudden, that little bugger comes on my shoulder, even 2 minutes, before I go on stage, and it says, what if you're not the guy? What if you get
Right.
up there and what if you forget everything? We all get that.
Yeah.
But I've
Yep.
learned to flick that off and completely change my mindset to go out there and say, this is going to be the greatest night of my life. This is going to be one of the
Ah.
best shows that we've ever had, and I'm
Yep.
going to have fun with this audience, because we got to remember that audience is not there to see you fail. They want to be blown away. They want to have a great night.
Yep.
So
Yep.
most definitely. And I always tell people when they're doing preparation for public speaking is just get that first 5 minutes. Be so prepared that once you get that first laugh, or you get that first,
Hmm.
you guys know, you get that first
Yep.
chuckle, then you're
Yep.
set. You're ready to go. But do
Yep.
what you have to do. Memorize that first 5 minutes of whatever lecture or keynote presentation or event that you're doing, and then you're going to be set. And once you get that laugh, and you're in that same loop with the audience, it's going to be a piece of cake. And remember that everything that you want is on the other side of fear. And once you get off
Right.
that stage, you're right. Once you get off that stage, I'm telling you, you're going to develop, like I said, you're going to develop that new neural pathway in the brain, and that's going
Yep.
to be the new way of going. And then you're going to be able to challenge yourself and create more goals, more dreams, all that stuff, more vision.
Yep, that's it. And you know what? We are leaving on a high note. We are leaving our viewers looking forward to your show again, May 13th in Miramichi at the Civic Center. Jason, you've been a joy. Veronique and I absolutely love you and your energy. Thanks to all of our viewers for tuning in to have a chat. Jason, everybody, Veronique, have a great week. Thank you.
Thanks.